Have you ever caught yourself daydreaming about being rich? Imagining having all the things you want and indulging in luxury? We all have big dreams, but have you ever wondered where rich people actually spend their money? Besides the usual names on the top 10 rich lists, have you considered individuals like YouTube stars, such as Mr. Beast, who have made huge fortunes through online platforms? The world of wealth is fascinating and has surprising spending habits and hidden extravagances that might shock you. Now let's talk about what happens when people become too focused on material things. From a spiritual perspective, seeking riches can change a person's priorities and values dramatically. The pursuit of material wealth can take over someone's life and make them ignore the deeper aspects of life. This raises questions about how materialism can impact a person's character, relationships, and overall sense of purpose. As we discuss this, it is essential to explore how God's viewpoint on wealth and the dangers of excessive materialism can guide us in handling the allure of riches. Understanding this perspective helps us see the potential problems and consequences that might happen to those who become obsessed with worldly possessions. Today, I'd like to talk about a common belief that many people have about life. The idea that it's like a never-ending party focused on pleasure, wealth, and material things. As believers, it is important for us to realize that our time on earth and the things we possess are temporary. Let's explore this topic and see how it affects our perspective, choices, and our everlasting future. In our society, it's often promoted that life is all about indulging in parties and seeking self-gratification and material wealth. We constantly receive messages suggesting that true happiness and fulfillment come from short-lived pleasures, fame, and riches. However, as followers of Christ, we shouldn't be fooled by this illusion. The Bible reminds us again and again that our time on earth is short and uncertain. When we read its teachings, we understand that our lives are fleeting, like passing shadows or fading flowers. Given the limited time that we have, relying solely on temporary pleasures for happiness is not wise or far-sighted. Take a moment to think about how quickly the years have gone by. It feels like just yesterday we were carefree and young, but now we face the reality of getting older and the certainty that life is limited. This reflection serves as a reminder that life is short, and we should aim for more than just material possessions that don't last. No matter how much we have, it can't bring lasting happiness. As Jesus cautioned, don't store up treasures on earth where they can be destroyed by moths, rust, or thieves. The truth is that all our possessions will eventually fade away or be left behind. We came into this world empty-handed and will leave the same way. As people of faith, we are called to have an eternal perspective, recognizing that our true home is beyond this temporary world. As the Apostle Paul said in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18, "We focus not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." Our priority should be to accumulate treasures in heaven, where they are imperishable and safe from decay and loss. By adopting this perspective, we can find deeper meaning and purpose in life, understanding that our time on earth is fleeting, while our ultimate destiny lies in the eternal beyond. The following story of arrogance and defiance originates from the captivating tale of Belshazzar's feast, as described in the book of Daniel. In the Old Testament, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon is a well-known figure. After him, his descendant Belshazzar took over the dynasty. Despite the city being under siege, Belshazzar arrogantly ignored the impending danger. he was overly confident in Babylon's strong defenses and abundant resources, leading him to host a grand banquet for 1,000 esteemed lords. Imagine the scene. Amid the festivities, Belshazzar raises a golden goblet filled with wine and commands his servant to bring the sacred gold and silver vessels once taken from the temple in Jerusalem. These vessels had been seized during the time of his father Nebuchadnezzar and were now being used to serve wine to the king, his lords, wives, and concubines. This reckless act was a direct insult to the divine, a sacrilege that was rarely even contemplated during those times. Even today, the concept of sacrilege, which involves disrespectful or improper use of sacred things, remains a less discussed topic. During Belshazzar's extravagant feast, the guests enjoyed wine and praised their false gods, made of various materials like gold, silver, bronze, iron, wood, and stone. As they lifted their goblets to celebrate Belshazzar and honor these idols, something astonishing happened. A ghostly hand appeared and wrote mysterious Hebrew letters on the palace wall. Bewildered and desperate to understand the message, Belshazzar called upon the astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers to interpret the message, but they couldn't decipher it. At that moment, Belshazzar's wife suggested calling Daniel, known for his wisdom and divine insight. When Daniel arrived, the king asked him to interpret the writing and offered him great rewards, even a high position in the kingdom. However, Daniel declined the gifts and agreed to reveal the interpretation. With confidence, Daniel stepped forward and explained the divine message, uncovering its profound meaning. This encounter serves as a timeless lesson about the dangers of arrogance and the importance of seeking wisdom beyond human understanding. Daniel's humility and reliance on higher insight set him apart, leaving a lasting legacy of true wisdom and spiritual understanding. Then, Daniel solemnly disclosed the 4 words that had significant consequences, forever changing the course of Belshazzar's life. Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin. As Daniel explained the meaning of each word, their importance resonated through the grand hall. Mene. God has counted the days of your kingdom and brought it to an end, Daniel proclaimed, reminding everyone of the temporary nature of human rule and the divine authority that governs all things. Tekel, you have been weighed on the scales and found lacking, he declared, emphasizing the judgment of actions and character in the eyes of divine justice. Upharsin, your kingdom has been divided and given to the Medes and Persians, Daniel spoke, foreseeing the swift and unchangeable downfall of Belshazzar's reign. These words carried a truth that deeply affected all who heard them. Belshazzar's extravagant feast, once filled with arrogance and idol worship, now stood as a reminder of the serious consequences of ignoring divine guidance and wisdom. After Daniel interpreted the message, Belshazzar immediately honored him, dressing him in purple and giving him a gold chain as the 3rd ruler in the kingdom. However, that very night, Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, met his end. The sermon draws important lessons from Belshazzar's life. It highlights how, in the hours leading up to his death, he indulged in sinful pleasures. While sin can offer momentary pleasure, the story warns against its deceptive nature. People might enjoy sinful actions without fully realizing the eventual consequences. Belshazzar's revelry continued even as danger approached, reflecting the behavior of those who prioritize temporary pleasure over lasting spiritual matters. The message urges listeners to be mindful of the fleeting nature of worldly possessions and to recognize the spiritual battles around them. By learning from Belshazzar's story, individuals can make wiser choices, focusing on eternal truths rather than short-lived indulgences. As one ventures through the busy streets of this city and explores various parts of the world, a resemblance to Belshazzar can be found in many individuals who pursue sinful pleasures and indulgence. Reflecting on Daniel chapter 5, a particular verse has left a lasting impact, shedding light on the human conscience. Daniel chapter 5 verse 6 says, "Then the king's face turned pale, and his thoughts terrified him. His legs gave way, and his knees knocked together." Think about Daniel's vivid description, revealing the genuine terror that gripped Belshazzar. His once flushed face turned pale, and fear overwhelmed him to the point of physical weakness. The joyous revelry he was engaged in quickly turned into sheer terror. In that moment, it was evident that his conscience sensed something was about to happen. Though Belshazzar's conscience may have been desensitized due to his actions, it still had a flicker of sensitivity, which troubled him. Even though he couldn't understand the writing on the wall, the appearance of those mysterious words struck fear in his heart, as if his conscience somehow grasped the seriousness of the situation. In this very moment, there may be some whose conscience is gently urging them to listen and reconcile with their Lord and God, similar to Belshazzar and his false sense of security. We often fail to recognize our own vulnerability as human beings. Despite our outward appearances, which might seem strong and robust, we must acknowledge our inherent fragility. Yes, we may have physical strength, but that doesn't change the fact that we are, at our core, fragile beings. Life is short, and our existence can be fleeting. Belshazzar, surrounded by his mighty army, felt invincible within the walls of his seemingly impregnable city. With abundant food and provisions, he believed he was safe, even with an approaching siege. He chose to hold a lavish feast instead of rationing their supplies, showing his arrogance and indifference towards the danger outside his gates. This mindset is relatable to many of us. We often live with a false sense of safety, oblivious to our fragility and the reality that we may face our Lord and God at any moment. The devil desires to trap people in a deceptive sense of security, making them forget how quickly life can change and leading them to believe they have plenty of time. Shouldn't we break free from this false sense of security, just like Belshazzar's misguided trust in Babylon's safety? Despite appearing impenetrable, history showed that the fortress fell in one night, exposing the illusion of enduring security. Yes, a young person could be tempted to think, I can live in sin now and seek forgiveness from the Lord later in life. Do I really need to worry about it now? However, considering the uncertainty of life, where anyone, young or old, rich or poor, healthy or sick, can face mortality, it's essential to avoid falling into the trap of false security. None of us can predict what tomorrow holds. As we reflect on Belshazzar's story, I can't help but wonder about his thoughts just moments before he crossed from one realm of existence to another. Those final moments must have been filled with contemplation. Perhaps he thought, should I have devoted myself more to prayer and honored God wholeheartedly? What lies beyond this earthly life? I can't imagine living another moment without Jesus by my side. For me, Jesus is my anchor, the source of my strength and salvation. He is my Lord, and I'm keenly aware of His unconditional love for me. His love extends to you too. Do you understand the depth of His devotion? His desire for you to be with Him in heaven exceeds even your own longing for it. God's love, undeserved yet unwavering, embraces you. Embrace Him in return. Unfortunately, many believers will get entangled in worldly affairs, losing sight of the heavenly realm. So, let this be a reminder to keep our focus on heaven, embrace Jesus, and allow Him to hold you close. In Him, we find purpose, security, and the assurance of eternity. Thank you for joining me today. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to click the notifications bell so you'll be updated on all future uploads.